So you may not know it, but your headshots might be doing more heavy lifting than you think. They might be doing better than the last 10 posts that you've done. So I had to redo mine. So every couple years, especially for a media business, I think it's good to redo headshots and overall brand photos. The last time I did photos was in 2024, and that was actually more for my tea business than it was for my media business. So this was the first time I was doing pro headshots for my media business. And I wanted the photos to reflect more of where I'm at with my media business and the direction I see it going in the next few years. Here's how I did that. Step 1, book a studio. So before I gave myself a chance to talk out of booking a studio, I went ahead and booked it. I went through Peerspace and I found a space that was affordable, it was small, and it looked really nice and it had natural lighting. I wanted to treat myself like I would treat a client. To be honest, for our house right now, I wouldn't bring a client here to take professional headshots. I would go and book a studio. Our place doesn't have a lot of great natural lighting, which was what I was trying to go for. And also I wanted to just have access to props and chairs and stools, because you never know until you're there, like what inspiration is going to strike. Now that I had the deadline and the studio booked, I needed to find the inspiration. I wanted to book a space with a big white wall, a big seamless, because I just wanted something simple. I wanted something tasteful. What I want to do with Running Wild is I wanted to feel naturally classic. That's how I feel like I would describe the feel of my business, where there's like a timeless element to it, but there's still like a wild, natural energy to it. I put together like a few mood boards. So I had one section that was basically just white portraiture with just like pose inspirations. The second one, I wanted to do some ethereal like shutter drag photos. I feel like I'm really leaning towards that style as a photographer. And so I wanted photos in my headshots to represent that. Third, I initially was drawn to was spotlight photos. We didn't end up getting to those, but I think that'll be good to keep for future photos. And then I also was like into like a film strip style, which again, we didn't really do, but it's good to have that for the future. I also had a section for no heads, but brand. It's not necessarily headshots, but it's photos of stuff that represents the brand. So like I ended up doing flowers and a vintage camera and my laptop, stuff that represents what I do as a like social media content video person. So after I had the location and the vibe, I needed to choose outfits. I wanted to find things that felt like a uniform almost, so I don't have to think about what I'm wearing going to shoots, which the uniform recently has been just jeans and a tank top. Sometimes I'll throw on like a white button-up shirt. So I wanted some of my photos to represent that. And then I also wanted more casual photos where I had this denim top, which I was like, that's a great nod to the denim that I would normally wear in my uniform. But then I had a skirt that was really flowy and we could really lean into like the ethereal side of it. And then I also had a hat that went with that outfit as well. So it was like a more casual look and then a more polished look in a way. And I ended up really liking the casual stuff that felt more almost professional, oddly enough. I didn't think too much about it. Honestly, I think I picked out the outfits like the morning of or the night before. I also wanted to try 2 different makeup looks, and basically the main difference being just the mascara. I've been really into a non-mascara vibe this summer. So I wanted the first photos to be more of that look with no mascara, and then the second outfit, the more casual one, I added mascara. Then the fourth thing is the vibe. I would argue this is probably the most important step. There are 4 things that help set the vibe. The first one being music. I wanted my music choice for the day to feel like fun and flirtatious, like nothing too serious and brooding, but not like too high energy bubblegum. I ended up picking Tiger Lewis and did like a radio based on Tiger Lewis. I've been really enjoying his stuff this year. I've really been enjoying Mrs. Kisses and Mr. Right Now. Then the next thing is a smell. So that could be a candle in the space, it could be perfume, it could be incense, anything that like stimulates a certain emotion that you want to get, because smell is connected to the olfactory settings in your brain, which is tied to emotions. Smell is a really strong vibe influencer, basically. So I wanted to go with a perfume that I've been enjoying this summer, which is It Factor by Dossier. I think it's like one of their original lines. I also use Intune by doTERRA. I've been using Intune for so long, like probably a decade. And I always just feel the most like myself when I wear that. And It Factor feels more like my business self recently. It's like professional, but it's still fun. And that's what I wanted. I wanted those 2 smells together. So that's also kind of a thing. If you mix smells, like you can kind of come up with your own signature scent. Team is another big part of setting the vibe. You can do portraitures by yourself. Self-portraits have been a thing for as long as humans have been alive. But for me, I find I do well playing off of people, and especially someone I'm really comfortable with, like Theo. It was really nice having him on set to kind of like play around with and try new things. And he was up for doing whatever I had on the mood board. The last thing is props, which the props I chose were very last minute as well as my outfits. The props I think I thought about when I woke up and I was like, Theo, we gotta stop at Kroger quick. I picked out some like cheap like flowers, some that look like sunflowers, other types of flowers in that color palette. It was really nice having those because those colors reflect my brand right now with Running Wild, which is kind of like a gold, warm tone feeling. I feel like it really tied the looks together. And when you see it, it's like, ah, that's Running Wild. Props are a huge thing. So I recommend giving it some thought, more thought than I did. Having flowers, having plants, having instruments, having, balloons, having things that maybe you use day to day that you wouldn't think to bring to a photo shoot. But you're like, oh, actually, that represents my brand entirely. And then when we get to the actual shoot, this is where all these things kind of come together. And the goal is just to have fun. But when you have the vibe set, now you have all the like ingredients to have a good shoot, I feel like. So the whole point is to like have fun, lean into that persona. Don't think too much about it, honestly. Now that the photos are done, we get into the editing side of things, which can be hard for some people because I looked at all the photos after Theo took them. Like he basically just put them on a drive and gave them to me. Editing your own headshots can be kind of hard, especially for if you have like issues with how you look. I definitely struggle with how I look. I'm the heaviest I've been in a long time. Treat it like a practice in self-love. Like love all the good stuff, love all the bad stuff, especially. With these photos, it's meant to capture a snapshot of where you are at this point in your life. You're gonna be a very different person in like 2-3 years. And so I think it's really nice to have these photos of where you are right now to then look back on, because maybe you don't like where you're at right now, but you in like 30 years will look back and be like, wow, I was really beautiful. I wish I could have seen that more. I definitely think about that looking back on photos of myself, like even 10 years ago. And again, even if I was a weight that I was more happy with, like I still had confidence issues. So I don't remember what I was insecure about, but I look back on those photos and I'm like, wow, she was doing it. Got me to where I am today. Treat the editing process, if you are editing your own portraits, as like an act of self-love. Just a little note on that. But in terms of the actual technique of editing the photos, I have 2 steps basically, where the first step is just correcting it, balancing the white balance, the exposure, contrast, yada, yada, yada. If you're interested in that, I can make a video about it. So then the second step is like the fun stuff and the style. This is where you go back to your inspo photos and you pull out like 1 or 2 that you're like, oh, I want to emulate this style. And then you do your best to alter the photo to do that. And then sometimes also you might alter something and it might not look like the reference photo, but you like that even more. Lean into that, because that's what's going to make it unique and special to your brand and who you are. Then honestly, I just go through and copy paste to most of the photos, and then I'll go through and like alter and tweak as needed. Oh, also for editing, I've been using Capture One. I was using Lightroom for a really long time. I quit the Adobe ecosystem, and I really want to make a video about that because subscriptions are a trap for creators. I recently quit Adobe and I'm trying to find alternatives to software that I'm using right now. So I switched to Capture One because they do have a subscription model, like a monthly payment. They also have at least an option of being able to buy it outright. So like, I think it's like a few $100s and then you just like own it forever. Love that. I want more stuff like that. DaVinci's like that too if you're looking for an editing software. I think that's it. I think that's everything, because then you have your photos. I really do think headshots can say a lot about a business and a person. And I mean, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Also, reinvesting in new headshots every few years, I think it shows how committed to your business you are. And for me, getting these headshots done, honestly, for the first time, it feels like I have a legitimate business now. Like, to me, that all seems so worth it to now have something that represents who I am and people can look at. And also, these are portfolio pieces. Like, if people can see that you can take photos like this, then they think that you can do that for them. And that's the whole point.